but he's a special kind of a novelist because here at your station for the 80s and beyond, Jaime Clarke, you have written a novel that is kind of based on people who are infatuated with the 80s. Good morning, Jaime Clarke.
Good morning, Ted. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for showing up, and thanks for writing this novel. It was a fun read.
Well, thanks very much.
It was a good stuff.
It was fun to write, actually.
Give us a little bit of a background here on the characters in the novel. They are 80s freaks, aren't they?
Right. They're three teenage girls from Phoenix who are obsessed with the 80s, and more specifically, obsessed with the all-girl British group Bananarama. And it's not. I wanted to write a book about the culture of celebrity that we live in.
Sure.
And it seemed not improbable to me that teenage girls growing up today, with the resurgence of great stations like this and others in the 80s music, would be sort of not indoctrinated, but they would be exposed to 80s music in a way that they would sort of pick up on a time that they weren't even around for.
Yeah.
And so those two ideas came together, and it's a satire about these three girls who dream of becoming famous. They don't really care how. And, you know, they have various adventures around town, and they go to L.A. and
It's fun to read a novel with local, places in here, and a little bit of L.A., obviously. And these girls are everywhere. They're stopping in. They know local places. They know L.A., they know New York. They're everywhere.
It was sort of a reminiscence for me, because I was in New York when I was writing the book. And, I went to high school here. I went to Brophy, and I went to ASU for a couple years, and then down to the U of A. So being so far away from home, it was sort of fun to think about all these places that I used to hang out, and places I would drive around, and things like that. So.
And you told me an autograph, Bananarama. Now, are they aware of this book?
Well, I went to New York last month, and I came home, and in the mail was a autographed copy of my book signed by Bananarama, which I thought was
very
cool. Pretty nice of them, So I don't know if they've read it, but they've at least seen it. So.
Yeah, the title of the book is We're So Famous, and Jaime Clarke, the author, is in studio with us, a local guy who wrote about the 80s and people that were infatuated with the 80s. And why, is this your first novel, first of all?
Yes, it is.
And how difficult was it to write?
Well, it's hard. I said it was fun earlier, which it was, because it was fun thinking about all these things, but it was every day.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, when I was in New York, I didn't have a place to live. I was staying on people's couches, so I was forced to stay at the office after work and just sit down and force myself to write this. But once I got into it, and once I got into these girls' voices, it was really fun to just go with it. And it took probably a year to write.
Really? And you got a blurb on the back here, on the front, actually, from Bret Easton Ellis,
sure.
Mr. Big-Time Author there.
Yeah. Well, Brett's actually a friend of mine, so it's a little less impressive than it might seem.
Your family members back here blurbing it?
Could well be. But, yeah, it was nice of him to write that blurb.
Very cool. Now, this has there's a lot of action in here, a lot of stuff going on, and it seems to me like it might make a good film. Any contact from Honey Nibbles going on here?
Well, I have a film agent in Hollywood, and it's really up to them. I think you don't hear, and one day they call you on the phone. So I try not to think about that, because I worked in the publishing industry back in New York, and if it's anything like books, you just know how it doesn't make any sense. So fine if they do, fine if they don't,
Well, is the book selling well enough now? You're an author by trade, or are you still doing other stuff?
Oh, no. It's my first book, and it just came out earlier this year, and trying to write another. But, you have to work, and you have to do all kinds of other things. So you don't get rich writing books. That's the thing I learned working in publishing. Don't really know how it's doing. It's the accounting period ends here in December, and then the publisher, at their leisure, will let you know how many you sold. So.
And you're very concerned with how it's doing, because there is a charity going on with this. Talk to us about that.
Yes, the Literacy Volunteers of Maricopa County are getting 50% of the royalties for the entire year on the American edition. So, hopefully people will get out and get the book. There's a website for the book, too, of course, we'resofamous.com, which is no punctuation, just W-E-R-E, sofamous.com.
Right.
And, whoever picks up the book, you'll be giving some money towards a great organization. They're a nonprofit organization that are concerned with adult literacy.
All right, very good. Jaime Clarke, and he's the author of We're So Famous, Brophy guy, ASU guy, U of A guy.
Everywhere.
Local guy writing about some local girls who make it big, I think.
Yeah,
who sort of maybe kind of make it big.
Maybe.
And have all sorts of... It's a fun read, especially if you're into people that were into the 80s. And it's good stuff. Jaime, I wanted to get you in because it was a good read. It was fun stuff.
Well, I really appreciate it. And thanks for having me down.
All right, Jaime Clarke. And again, the book is We're So Famous. All right, it's 7:27. Time for a check of traffic. Here comes Andy Barnes. Hey, Andy.
Hey there, Ted. This